Welcome to China's Living Legends.
欢迎来到我的频道。
If I asked you to name your favorite historical artifact, you'd probably think of something massive, beautiful, or incredibly complex. But my eyes are completely stuck on this one. I just can't look away. Today, we aren't looking at the most beautiful relic, and we aren't looking at the most intricate. We are looking at the Analects Jade candle, turtle-shaped drinking tally cylinder. What exactly is it? It's a gilded silver piece from the Tang Dynasty. And if you just look at its exterior, you're going to get tricked. The bottom half is a lively turtle with its head held high. On its back sits a cylindrical tube. The whole thing is gilded, so from a distance, it looks like a golden candle standing on a turtle's back. The name Jade Candle actually comes from the ancient text Ya, meaning harmony of the four seasons, or a golden age of peace. So it looks like a beautiful, lucky decoration, right? Wrong. The true soul of this artifact isn't on the outside, it's inside. Open the lid and you will find exactly 50 silver tallies neatly stacked inside. Each one is about 20 centimeters long, but here's the crazy part. They are only 0.5 millimeters thick. That's barely thicker than a piece of paper. And on these tiny, flexible silver slips, Tang Dynasty craftsmen actually engraved text. The top half of each tally has a quote from the Analects of Confucius. The bottom half has a rule for drinking alcohol. 50 tallies, 50 quotes, 50 rules. The craftsman's genius goes even deeper. The divine turtle represents Taoism. The lotus flower on its back is sacred in Buddhism. And the cylinder itself holds the Analects, the ultimate text of Confucianism. It is a perfect fusion of all three major Chinese philosophies. But what was it actually used for? It wasn't for sacred rituals. It wasn't a pretentious decoration. It was a tabletop party game. When I finally realized what I was looking at, my jaw dropped. This isn't just a 1,200-year-old cup. This is the masterwork of a top-tier tabletop game designer. We know the ancient Chinese played board games, but this artifact is special because of its completeness. You don't have to guess the rules from an old book. The 50 rules are physically etched into the game pieces. It's a complete design document. And the fact that they turned the highly serious Analects of Confucius into a drinking game, that is next level. Here's how a Tang Dynasty dinner party went down. Guests would take turns drawing a tally from the cylinder, and the whole table had to follow the rule. The game mechanics are built on an ingenious 3-layer structure. Layer 1, the action. Drink yourself, drink with someone, make someone else drink, penalty drink, or pass. Layer 2, the amount, ranging from a small sip all the way to the dreaded 40 units, which meant chugging 4 whole cups. Layer 3, the trigger. This is the stroke of absolute genius. The trigger wasn't based on the person who drew the stick, it was based on the environment. Listen to a few of these. Is it not a joy to have friends come from afar? If you drew this, the most distinguished guest from out of town had to drink. Riding fat horses, wearing light furs. Whoever was dressed the best at the table had to drink. The young are to be regarded with awe. The youngest person in the room drinks. He who exercises government by means of his virtue is like the North Star. The person with the highest ranking government job drinks. Do you see what they did? These 50 triggers cover age, job title, clothing, social distance, who talks too much, who arrived late. It hits almost every possible social dynamic at a table, and it pairs perfectly with classic literature. Modern game designers would struggle to make something this clever, but there's a second secret. To play this, the table had to appoint 3 officials: a host, a referee, and an enforcer. It sounds like a heavy roleplay, but the Tang people fully committed to it. Take Yuan Zhen, one of the most famous poets of the era. When he was young, he acted as the enforcer at a party. A guest showed up late and immediately broke several game rules. Yuan Zhen didn't hesitate. He ruthlessly penalized the guy over a dozen cups. The guest couldn't handle it, dropped his cup, and literally ran away. The next morning, Yuan Zhen woke up and realized the guy he had bullied out of the party was actually the local county deputy, a high-ranking government official. Years later, they bumped into each other again. The man had been promoted, but instead of taking revenge, they laughed about it, and Yuan Zhen even wrote a poem to commemorate the memory. In this game, the rules temporarily conquered social hierarchy. That was the open-mindedness and tolerance of the Tang Dynasty. But let's stop and think about something profound here. The Analects is the most serious sacred text in Confucianism. A drinking party is the most relaxed, chaotic environment. Why did Tang Dynasty people put their most serious philosophy into their most relaxed setting? Because hidden within this is a highly advanced, uniquely Chinese cultural trait: handling the heavy with a light touch. Other ancient civilizations usually handled the sacred in the exact same way. They put it on a pedestal. They kept it as far away from daily life as possible. The more mysterious and forbidden, the more sacred it was. China didn't do that. The ultimate Chinese flex is picking up the heaviest concepts in the lightest possible way. Putting Confucius into a drinking game isn't blasphemy, it is the highest form of intimacy. And this isn't an isolated incident. Let me show you 3 more quick examples. First, the lotus and crane rectangular pot from the spring and autumn period. Standard Bronze Age vessels are rigid, square, and covered in terrifying, imposing beast motifs. But look at this one. 2 layers of lotus petals bloom at the top, with a crane ready to take flight right in the center. Dragons on the side look like they are casually slacking off, and the beasts at the bottom look like they are exhausted from carrying the pot. It completely flipped the aesthetic. It became light, fresh, and distinctly human. This was cast during one of China's most turbulent eras, right as the old rules were collapsing and the 100 schools of thought were emerging. You can literally see a society's soul trying to break free from heavy, ancient rules. Second, the Changxin palace lamp. It looks like a humble, kneeling maid holding a light. But over 2,000 years ago in the Western Han Dynasty, this was the world's most advanced piece of green tech. The maid's body is hollow. Her right arm acts as a chimney. The smoke from the fire travels up her sleeve and dissolves into a pool of water in her belly, keeping the room completely smoke-free. The lampshade spins 360 degrees to adjust brightness and block the wind. 2 millennia ago, Chinese craftsmen were already obsessing over user experience. They hid razor-sharp engineering genius inside the posture of a humble, kneeling servant. Third, the Gilded bronze silkworm. You've probably never heard of it. It's a tiny, 5.6 centimeter worm from the Western Han Dynasty, weighing just 10 grams, about the weight of 2 coins. It looks incredibly ordinary. No grand bronze, no luxurious jade. But think about what this little worm represents. It stands for millions of ordinary households, 2,000 years ago. In an era of men farming and women weaving, a mulberry tree in the backyard meant an elderly person could wear warm silk. But the power of this little bug didn't stop in the backyard. That silk was carried by camels all the way to Rome. In 53 BC, Roman soldiers saw silk banners on the battlefield and were stunned. They had never seen anything so light and brilliant. Roman gold poured into the east, and they even named China Ceres, the kingdom of silk. Just think about that contrast. A tiny bug the size of your pinky finger spun the thread that held together the very first trade artery connecting Europe and Asia. The smallest creature supporting a massive global civilization. This is the spirit of carrying heavy weight with a light touch. A true understanding of Chinese history means looking past the simple labels. The people of ancient China respected the rules, but they weren't afraid to let loose. They were humble, yet brilliant. They were incredibly ordinary, and yet completely profound. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.